Hiya. I just want to start by saying that this may well be one of the last videos that I do for this channel, which is sad, but I'll explain why towards the end of the video. Those of you who watch the channel and who have watched, a few of my videos will know that this hasn't been the best of years for me. I lost my wife, and there have been various other issues. But the latest catastrophe that's befallen me is the one that's relevant to this video. So just under 3 weeks ago, I was involved in a road traffic accident. I was coming through a local village, and a young guy on a bicycle shot out of the side road in front of me. The first I knew of it was he hit the windscreen and went over the roof. It was a shot. I was in shock. Absolutely. He got up on his feet immediately and ran to the window of the car and was saying to me, "Are you okay?" And I was saying, "Yeah, I'm okay. Are you okay?" And he was saying, "Yeah, I'm okay." And so it was, and someone came over and kind of took him by the shoulder and took him over to the curbside, and we're standing there talking with him. I called the police from the car, and then got out myself and went over and stood where there was a bit of a congregation now. People had gathered around the place. A couple of ladies who had witnessed the incident came to me and said, just want to say, we witnessed that, you weren't at fault at all, and so on, and that was great to know. But anyway, the police arrived, and unbeknownst to me, where the accident had happened, which was just outside the post office, the road was covered by CCTV from the post office. So the police went in and viewed the CCTV, and they came out, and they also came straight to me. The guy came straight to me and said, "I just want you to know, don't worry, you've got nothing to worry about. You're not at fault at all. There's nothing that you could have done." So that was comforting, at least, but I was still concerned about this young chap. He kept insisting that he was okay. His mum had arrived now in a car, and he was sitting in the car with his mum talking to a policewoman. And once everything had been kind of sorted out and stuff, his parents said, "Right, we're going to take him to A&E just to get him checked over." The police recommended that, although, as I say, he was saying he was fine. Indeed, I got a call from his dad over the weekend following to let me know that he was okay. He was bruised and sore, but other than that, he was fine. The car wasn't drivable, of course, so the police took me home, and I telephoned Saga Insurance, my insurers, and the claims line, and I spoke to a lovely lady called Brenda, and she was fantastic. She was empathetic, she was sympathetic, she was understanding, she was great. I was still in shock, to be honest with you, and she was wonderful. I went through the claim with her. While we were in the process of that, my daughter arrived. I telephoned her. She'd driven through from Glasgow and made me a cup of tea and stuff, and so we were all fine. So, having gone through the claim form with Brenda, at the end, there were two things basically. First, she said to me that they would arrange for someone to come and uplift my car and take it to repairers, which she did. I mean, I got a call a couple of hours later from a recovery service saying that they were coming to collect the car, and my daughter and I went and met them in the car with the keys and stuff like that. And then she also said that they would arrange for a replacement car for me. But as it was Friday afternoon, that probably wouldn't happen until Monday. That's fine, that's okay, that's fair enough. But then she also said, now because this is a cyclist and he's obviously uninsured, this will go down as a fault against you. And I wasn't happy with that. I said, well, no, hang on, okay, it's a claim against my insurance, yeah, but it's not my fault. But she said that's just the way that they operate. So that's the way it's done. So anyway, I don't know whether every insurance company does that or not, whether it's just Saga, but I'm going to be taking it up with them. I'm not happy about it. I don't want a fault against mine. I've never had an accident. I don't want a fault against my name for something for which I was not at fault. And indeed, the police officer who gave me the card with the incident number and stuff said, if you want, tell your insurance company to ring me and, I will confirm that, there was just nothing you could have done. It wasn't you. You're not at all to blame. But anyway, it seems that Saga's not really bothered about that. However, the replacement car, in fact, took 6 days. The accident happened on Friday, as I say, and I didn't get a replacement car until the following Thursday. Now, the reason for that, as I discovered, because I was, during the following week, ringing them, because I live in a rural area, there's no public transport, I have hospital appointments, I've got a terminal illness, so I was ringing them and saying, what's happening about this car? And what I was told eventually was what they were doing is they were ringing around repair shops, trying to find a repair shop that would give me a courtesy car. So in other words, it wouldn't cost them anything. So that's what they were trying to do. When I became insistent and explained, about my health situation, I'm a blue badge holder, there was no public transport here, I was having to get a taxi to hospital, it's £25 each way. They eventually said, okay, we'll hire a car for you. So the woman then phoned me back an hour or so later and said, right, we've arranged, you're going to get a car from Enterprise. They'll be in touch. So great. So later that day, this was the Tuesday, I think, Enterprise called me and said, yeah, we'll get your car. It'll be available on Thursday. And I said, well, that's not very good. Can you not get a car sooner than that? And they said, no. They said, we can come and collect you at midday on Thursday and give you a car then. So I said, okay, we'll keep that booking, but I'm going to ring Saga and see if they can get one from someone else. So I rang Saga and it was just a point blank no. So I just had to wait until Thursday. So having made an arrangement to come and collect me at midday on Thursday, it was eventually about 1 o'clock, I think. I phoned them and said, what's going on? And I was told, oh, he's on his way, he'll be with you in about half an hour. So he obviously wasn't on his way because it's actually considerably less than half an hour from here to the Enterprise rental shop. But anyway, eventually he arrived and took me to get the car. And it was a Toyota Aygo. It was 3 years old. It had done 40,000 miles. It had large rust spots on the bonnet that someone had badly sprayed over with white paint. It was a white car, but it wasn't matching paint or anything, it was just white paint that they sprayed over it with. The alloy wheels were, I've never seen alloy wheels so badly scuffed in my life before. But I mean, that's okay, it was a car. But the worst part of it was an automatic. Now, I think it's what they call automated manual. The gear changes kind of take forever. And, I could manually change gear quicker than that car changed gear. But that wouldn't be too bad if the car could make up its mind which gear it wanted to be in. But it never could. Even if I was trying to hold a steady speed of, say, 50 miles an hour or whatever, it would be constantly changing gear. 1 minute the engine would be racing, next minute it'd be, it was it was just awful. I have to say, it's without doubt the worst car I've ever driven in my life. And I've driven some wrecks, basically. But that was just beyond the pale. But anyway, it was transport, so I just bit my tongue and kept going with it. But then on the Wednesday, following Wednesday, I got a call from Saga, I think. I don't know, they operate, there's several companies involved, all operating under different names, but when you actually look at them, they all belong to the same parent company. It's just, basically it just makes it difficult. You're phoning one company about one thing and another company about something else. But anyway, I got a call to say that the car was a total loss. Now, I wasn't surprised at that, although, the young guy had basically bounced off the car and not injured himself seriously. There was considerable damage. There was damage to the front. There was one of the wings was the driver's side wing was crumpled. He'd obviously swung round the car and hit the wing. Then come onto the bonnet, hit the windscreen. The bonnet was damaged. There was a huge gouge in it where I think probably the handlebars for the bicycle had hit. The roof was damaged, and when I got out of the car I noticed there was fluid leaking underneath it. Now obviously it's an electric car, it doesn't have a radiator. There wasn't a burst radiator. It may have been windscreen washer fluid, but it didn't look like it to me. I don't know if some kind of pipe or other, I don't know, had got burst. Maybe brake fluid could have been, I don't know. Anyway, the car was a total loss. So the lady then said to me, so your car will be being collected from the repairers. So if you've got anything you want in it, you better go and get it. And it'll be taken to the assessors. So they'll be in touch with you within a few days about a settlement. Now, why it has to go to an assessor, I don't know. I think this is stupid. It's a 3-year-old Kia e-Niro, 34,000 miles. It has a value, Why? But what they're going to do, of course, is go over it with a fine-tooth comb and try and knock every penny that they can off of the settlement. That's their job, is to rob a sick old age pensioner of every penny that they possibly can. But anyway, so that was it. So I thought, okay, right, I'll just wait to hear from them. So say that was on the Thursday. So on Tuesday, it's Tuesday just gone, I hadn't heard anything. So I phoned and to ask what was going on. And this was Saga customer service line. I spoke to a lady there, and of course she said, "Oh, it's not us that's dealing with it now. It's co-parked." She said, "But I'll try and contact them if you don't mind holding on for a minute. But if not, I'll give you their number." And I said, "Sure, I'll hold on." So she came back in a couple of minutes and said, right, what's happening is your car is being collected today from the repairers this morning. It had been collected this morning, sorry. And when it gets to them, it will probably take a few days for them to get around to assessing it, and then they'll be in touch. So I expressed my displeasure politely, so she registered that, and said, "Look, I can give you their number, direct number, and you can contact them yourself if you want." So I said, "Yes, I'll do that." So she gave me their number, but I had things to do, so I went out to do them. And while I was out, Copart telephoned me, and I spoke to a guy, Max, who said he is going to be handling my claim there. And he was quite he said he'd been told to ring me. Obviously my displeasure had been registered, as I say, and he was quite defensive to begin with, and he was I said, what's going on, why is this taking so long? And he said, well, it's not, we're on schedule. And I said, well, whose schedule? Certainly not my schedule, it's nearly a week, since the car was deemed a total loss, and it's just left the repair shop. And anyway, after a while, he kind of came around to my perspective when I explained to him that I live in the countryside. I've got no public transport. I've got a terminal illness. I have hospital appointments. So on and so forth. He said, right, okay. What I'm going to do is I'll make this a priority. I'll keep this file open. I'll make this a priority. I'm still waiting to hear from them, so we'll see what happens about that. But what I've been told will happen is that basically they will come back to me with an unacceptable settlement figure. They'll hope that I'll accept it, but I'll be crazy to do so. And then there will be back and forth for several days, apparently. This is what I've been told by people who've gone through this claims procedure, and eventually we'll come to an agreed figure. And then, after a few days, I'll then get the money in order that I can buy another car. So yeah, I guess I've got that to go through. I mean, I think it's appalling. I think the way that insurance companies treat their clients in this country is horrendous. I say in this country because those of you who've watched the channel know I used to live in France, and I never had a car claim there. I haven't had a claim before, but I did have to claim my household insurance in France, and the difference was incredible. When we had a very bad year where everything froze. We were in -16 for days and days on end, and it never got warmer than -16. It was -16 through the night and all day. And unfortunately, and this was my fault, during that period we ran out of heating oil. We had an oil-fired boiler, and so our boiler stopped working, our heating stopped working. The boiler was in a barn, so it was indoors. So was the oil tank, actually. We had 2 barns attached to the property, and but the boiler froze, and obviously the cylinder, the jacket inside where that heats the water inside the boiler ruptured, and stuff. So the boiler was kaput, and we had big old cast iron radiators inside the house. A couple of them exploded. They froze as well and exploded. And I claimed the insurance there, and I told them, we need a new boiler. Some of the pipes are burst. We need that fixing, and we need a couple of new radiators. And they said sure, and they sent an assessor round. Now, talk about chalk and cheese. This assessor came round, and he looked at what I had claimed for and said, no, this won't do. Look, your decor here has been spoiled. This room has to be redecorated. A carpet here has been stained. The water coming out of radiators is like mucky water. That carpet needs replacing. And they ended up giving us much more than I had been claiming for. And the other incident that I had in France claiming was actually a breakdown service. I had a car in France, a Citroen, an old Xantia, and which had the hydraulic suspension, and that went. I actually went when I was over here in the UK. I was actually on my way back. I was we're actually in the ferry terminal at Dover, and driving up in the queue, and the car just sank, and called the breakdown service, and they were again fantastic. They said, "Don't worry, we'll get someone to come in and take you to a Citroen dealer." So they, sure enough, breakdown truck came. I had a car, and I was towing a trailer as well, and they took us to Folkestone, which is the nearest Citroen dealer. They had a look at the car. They said there was a manifold had corroded, and that was the issue. So they would need to replace that manifold, and so much of the hydraulic piping around the car, and so I can't remember what all. And they said the parts were going to come to, I can't remember, 1,000 odd quid, and the labour was at that time, this is quite some number of years ago, 70 odd pounds an hour plus VAT. Basically, it was going to cost more than the car was worth to fix, so I wasn't sure what to do. But they also said, but anyway, we can't touch it for at least 2 weeks. We're fully booked for 2 weeks. So I called the French breakdown service again, and they were just marvellous. They said, "Don't worry," I said, "we'll collect your car and have it taken to your local garage in France." And I said, "Well, I've got a trailer as well." "Yeah, that's fine. They said, "So we'll get your car. We'll a people carrier. Will you be able to get everything in a people carrier?" I said, "Well, we won't get everything in. We'll be able to get everything that's important in. And what we can do is actually leave the trailer empty, and stuff that's less important, put that in the car, and get everything else in the people carrier." So they organised to have us taken across on the ferry on a low loader, then to a car hire. It dropped us at a car hire place in Calais, and they had a Ford Galaxy for us, and but they also said, "It's getting late now." It was quite late in the evening. "We'll book a hotel for you," and which they did. So we arrived at a hotel, which all paid for out of everything, and so that's the difference between insurance in France and insurance in the UK. In France, as far as they're concerned, they have a contract with you and they will fulfill it. In the UK, you make a claim, they want to squirm out of it every penny that they can. So yes, I'm not happy with Saga. Excuse me. Sorry about that. I've got a little bit of a frog in my throat. Anyway, I will let you know what happens with this claim, how it turns out. But so far it's been awful. I can't, I'm absolutely appalled by Saga, to be honest. But yes, I will let you know in a follow-up video. But yes, in relation to that, as I said at the beginning, this may be one of the last videos I do on this channel. And the reason for that is, those of you that follow the channel will know that, my wife died early in the year. We lived in this beautiful cottage. This was our retirement home in the countryside. But now I'm here on my own. I'm finding it, I'm feeling very isolated and lonely. So I decided to sell up. So I put the house on the market. It actually sold very quickly, which I wasn't surprised at. It's an unusual property. They don't come up very often. And and I got a buyer very quickly. Unfortunately, he hadn't sold. So I had to wait a while for him to sell, but now his buyer hasn't sold, so I'm kind of stuck in an interminable chain. But anyway, that's irrelevant. There's no great rush. But yes, I am going to move into Glasgow to be near our family, but I'm planning to move into central Glasgow to actually just be near life, where there's a bit of bustle going on. So I'm planning a modern apartment in central Glasgow, which will mean that I will not have home charging. So I'm afraid, I'm thinking I'm probably going to have to go for a hybrid or something like that. I don't think an EV is going to be terribly practical for me. Unfortunately, I'll be very sorry, because as those of you who watch the channel know, I love that Nero. You know, despite it, as I've said many times, being one of the most boring cars I've ever driven, it was great. It was just fantastic, and it was the main thing. It was so economical. Charging at home at 9p kilowatt hour, which is the best that I could get. Some people have got other, I'm with Octopus Go. There are other Octopus tariffs where some people get charged for free. It is so economical. It makes motoring so inexpensive. So I'm going to be very sad about that. And I'll be sad not to be able to do any more Nero pensioner videos as well. It's been really good for me these few months. It's been great, and I've enjoyed chatting to you, and I hope you've enjoyed listening. And I'll thank you now for listening to this one. And as I say, I will do a catch-up. So I'll see you then. Okay, bye for now.